Hey guys, so here I am today working on power steering. I've got to get this purged because the old pump that I got was full of water. I didn't know it, and now it screams and yells, and y'all heard that in my first video when I drove it for the first time on tons. So stand by with me while I get this done. So all I'm doing right here is setting it right over the top of the power steering box. That way when I start the truck, it'll just kind of drain itself out. It's a mess. Chocolate milk. Okay, well, there wasn't as much fluid in there as I thought there was, but you tell me, does that look good? I don't think so. Kind of looks like Yoo-hoo though. Oh well, back to work. Power steering is done. It's pretty simple, just filled it up. The whine went away. Seems to steer nice and smoothly. Now I get to take the hubs apart again and make some clearance for my new rotors because they're rubbing against the knuckle. Alright guys, so here's what we're working with right now. So I got the tire off. I got the end of my hub off right here. If you look at the rotor, looks pretty good. It's got a little bit of a score mark right there, nothing too terrible. But if you come up here and you look right in here, okay, you see how there's no space there? That's a problem. Because listen, and if you look on the back of the rotor, you can see all the grooves and the roughness from rubbing on the knuckle here. So I got to figure out why that is not sitting where it's supposed to. And by the way, to get the caliper off of one of these Dana 60s, there is this little slip joint that sits right here, okay, and then this little spring plate that goes on top of it, and then there is a retaining screw right here, and this all, so the caliper slips on top of this, as you can see from right here, and then this holds it all in against the hub. So give me a little bit and I'll keep you updated. Alrighty, so got everything apart. If you're curious, that's all that goes into a hub on one of these Dana 60s. That's it. Just a few little screws, some retaining rings, a bearing, a big spring. Well, that's a retaining ring. Then you got your hubs, and then you got your hub cap, which is what actually locks it all together. It's not a lot, but it's very strong. Now, delving into this, if you look right about here, you can see where my rotors have been trying to do some self-clearing. Now, for some things, see, look at how gnarly that one is. That's pretty rough right there. And it's digging into those rotors pretty good, so I can't just leave it sit. So, self-clearance can sometimes work in your favor if it's very, very, very short term, because it won't damage the equipment too much. Preferably, you never have to do it, but I will say, and you do what you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable with it, and it's a rig that and you know what it's capable of, go for it. But otherwise, like, you want to try and fix those self-clearance issues, like I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take and I'm gonna grind this down a little bit, not far, maybe just a couple thousandths, just to give the rotor a little bit of extra room, so that it doesn't catch anymore, because I can't have my rotor grooving, which in turn will also make my pads groove, which will not only shorten the life of the brakes, but it actually diminishes my braking power. So, not something that I'm willing to risk, especially not for a truck that I like to consider my daily driver, as well as something that I take on some pretty gnarly obstacles, as you've seen in a couple of my videos. So, stay tuned, and I'll show you what the finished product is. Good evening, guys. So, I have to call it a night because tomorrow's a school day. Gotta get the kids ready for bed. So, I ended the night. I did a little bit of clearancing with my grinder. Just barely took some material away. Just enough to make some clearance. And I did that to both sides. Now, I might get questions like, well, why did you do that? Why didn't you just find the right rotor? The rotor that I found was for the model of truck that the axle came off of, but the axle sat outside for many, many years. So I think what was going on is it had a pretty big buildup of rust and dirt and gunk and nastiness, and I didn't clean it up well enough before I put it all together, which happens. I thought it would be good, and apparently I was wrong. So now I'm cleaning it up. I'm going to paint the bare metal probably tomorrow morning after it's had time to cool. Maybe a little later tonight. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But hopefully once I get it back together, I'm going to put the hub on. I'm going to get it nice and tight, and then I'm going to spin it, and I'll see where it falls. If I need to take a little more material off, I'll take a little more material off. If I don't, if it spins and it's not rubbing and it's good, then I'm just going to throw it on and I'm going to call it. Because there's really no point in not doing it, right? Pretty simple fix, pretty easy process. My power steering is done today, because I took some time and actually flushed that system. It really didn't have a lot of fluid in there, but the fluid that was in there when I purged it was milky. Like I said, it looked like Yoo-hoo. And if you ever see that, that's not a good thing. Okay? So keep an eye out for that. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can purge a power steering system. You can either pop a hose like I did right off of the steering box, and all you do there is you start the truck, you run it, you just turn the wheel all the way to each side 2 or 3 times, and then it purges the system through the freaking steering box, getting all that nasty fluid out. If it's just the pump that you need to do, a lot of times it's easier to just pop a fitting off of the back of the pump and then just put it back on once it's drained. Just depends on your need and how you plan on doing it. Other than that, I took my dust covers off. They weren't fitting right. They weren't sitting right. They'd been damaged and banged up and whatnot from years of neglect and not being used. So Figure instead of having them and risking getting them caught in the rotors and screwing things up even worse than I already have, I might as well just take them off and call it a day. Don't mind the bit of a mess. It's temporary storage. We'll go with that. I do have a couple of light bars I'm going to be doing here soon. But most importantly, I'm trying to get this thing drivable. Right? There's some end of the year car shows I'd like to go to and take this to. And then most importantly, I do an event with a group called Help a Vet Shine in November. We go out to Uwharrie National Forest and we take vets on a joyride. Take them up through the trails, go camp out with them, have some good times, cook them some good grub. It's a good time. It's a good time. And it's really, really good for the vets. Gets them out of their day-to-day and kind of show it. A lot of them that I've taken in rides in the Suburban, they've never gone four-wheeling before. So it's a really cool thing to see. And they end up having a blast. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, definitely look up Help a Vet Shine on Google. Give them a reach out, donate to them. Anything helps. They're awesome people, awesome folks, and they just like to do good things for veterans. Also, for me personally, I'm trying to do an awareness campaign for veteran suicide. It is still very much in the planning process. I would love to say that I'm about to do it, but we're a little ways off. I still got to get some funding figured out, and I still got to get some more parts and get the Suburban better set, because it's a 22-day trip from Key West to Prudhoe Bay. So if that's something that you'd be interested in helping out with, please shoot me a DM, shoot me a message. I'd love to hear from you, hear your ideas. If you know somebody who'd be willing to support or however, that's great. If you just want to shoot me a subscribe, shoot me a like, that helps too. Because this whole YouTube venture of mine is for that expedition. I love doing this. I'm doing these videos to share my passion for off-road and for vehicles, for cars, with all of you, and it would really help the channel if you guys liked and subscribed. And most importantly, if you guys learned something. If you see something that I'm doing and you're curious about it, just ask. A lot of times, if I don't know, I'll find out. If I do know, I'll tell you how I do it, and then I'll give you resources where you can find the by-the-book black and white answers. Because that is a reality when it comes to the automotive industry, is a lot of the things that we do, there is a black and white diagnostic answer that you can get. For a lot of the newer vehicles, that includes getting on a computer and paying a lot of money for a program where they can actually go into the ECM and do all kinds of cool stuff. But I don't have any of those tools. Not my preference. I like dealing with the older vehicles, specifically square bodies. But yeah, it's been a good time. I finally got my hands dirty, spun a couple of wrenches. Should be able to have it back together tomorrow, and then I have the joy of hodgepodging some brake lines together, because I got to replace my proportioning valve. And yeah, that's a chore, to put it mildly. So, thank you guys again for watching. It's an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Stay tuned. And remember, if you ain't learning, you ain't living. Take care now.